Okay, tonight we're going to talk about a beautiful trail about an hour's, or beautiful area about an hour's drive south of here in Palatka, the Ravine Garden State Park. We'll look at where it's located, talk a little bit about the history, and then we're going to take a hike through all the trails. So Ravine Gardens, like I said, is in Palatka. From Jacksonville, if you just take Roosevelt State Road 17 south and just keep going on 17 until you get into the downtown area. And when you'll see a sign right here for Ravine Garden State Park right near Wednesdays. This is Mosley. Take a right on Mosley, go up a little ways past the Armory. There's a sign here for the park as well where you turn left, and it's about a block down. You can park right there. So it's real easy to find. Let's talk a little bit about, Let's talk a little bit about the history of Ravine Gardens. Palatka at one time was known as the Gem of the St. John's. They had a couple beautiful hotels. It thrived with the fruit shipping and timber industry. And then around the turn of the century, the hotels burned down. And shortly after that, the Depression hit. So Palatka was in pretty bad shape. A local paving contractor said, hey, let's figure out how to get some tourism here. Let's use that ravines area and build a garden and boost it as tourism. So he drew up all the plans for it. And about then, FDR was starting all these different programs to get the economy going and get people employed. And so he got the Civil Works Administration to come down, build the trails, build a lot of the rock garden and some of the things we'll see today, the stairs and stuff, and planted 40,000 azaleas. A couple of years later, the Works Project Administration took over to complete the project and planted even more azaleas and other plants. So this was a city park for a long time until 1970. It just became too expensive to maintain and too hard for Palatka to maintain and keep up. They asked the state to take it over, and so the state took it over as a state park in 1970. A little bit about these ravines. The ravines have been forming for thousands and thousands of years because of Whitewater Branch, the small creek that runs through there, but also these slopes are seepage slopes. So water will sink into the ravine only so far and then seep down the ravine, carrying dirt and stuff with it. So they build this slowly over thousands of years. They build these steep ravines. So between the Whitewater Branch Creek and the seeping slopes, that's what's caused ravines. And in some places, 120 feet deep. It's an active ravine system. It's still eroding. And so there's a constant, expensive process to preserve the park. And I'll show you some of the damage or talk to you a little bit about some of the damage that's still there. One of the main ways to keep the slopes from seeping too much is to maintain trees and maintain the root system. So the trails have a lot of roots in them, and they're a lot uneven. And so the trails are a little bit of they're not difficult, but they're a little hard to negotiate. Plus you're going up and down. So let's take a look at the trails for a minute. Let me orient you. This is Twig Street would be up here in the parking. And so you would enter the park here. Now, the first trail is a paved road, this blue dashed road here that goes around the upper part of the ravine. And that's just recently been all the way opened. It was closed for some time in this area due to erosion and a couple other areas. But this is a 5 mile an hour one-way road. You can drive a car around it, or you can bicycle, or you could walk it if you wanted to. And there's places like here where you can get down and look at the ravines a little bit. There's picnic areas and parking areas along the way. There's even a playground at one point along it. So, and I'll talk a little more about that paved trail a little later on, but that's the paved trail. The main trail is the Azalea Trail, and it's marked with a red kind of crimson trail markings. It starts here at the center and then goes down this way and loops back and then loops back to the start. There's also a spring trail that goes around this portion, or used to go around this portion, but it's still blocked about halfway through due to continuing erosion. So I don't know if when they're ever going to get that part of the trail open again. And then last but not least, there's the Ravine Bottom Road, which is a little dirt road that we'll walk on. It's a good way to go down here to visit the springs, and we'll use that to walk down here to the springs. So those are the different trails you'll see. I'll show you our route. They're shown by the green arrows. Once we park, we're going to go through the gardens area, and then we're going to take the azalea across this suspension bridge. And then we're going to take the Azalea Trail all the way down, around, make the turn, come back up the other side of the ravine. The Azalea Trail then goes down into this pond area. It's really, really beautiful. So we'll go down there and kind of check that area out. Then we'll come back along the Azalea Trail for a little while on the dirt road. The Azalea Trail branches off to the right. We're going to take the dirt road directly over to the springs area, look at the springs area. Then we'll come back to here, the original suspension bridge that we came across, come back up and out. So that whole hike right there is probably 2 miles. If you hiked all the Azalea Trail, it might be 2.5. So we're not talking about a long trail here, but there's so many things to look at here, and it's so varied that it is a great place to go. A little bit about azaleas, what little I know, what little Wikipedia knows. A flowering shrub, native to continents, different continents around the world, many species in Florida, and many new species were developed, They kind of prefer shaded areas, and they bloom during this period of time, February to March. The azaleas around my house are blooming like crazy right now. And I didn't know this, but if you give a bouquet of azaleas to somebody in a black vase, that's a death threat. So we learned something tonight anyway. Now, like I said before we got started, the azalea, I called down there today, the azaleas are about 5% bloom, but she expected pretty good bloom in a week or so. And so if you want to go down there, maybe next weekend would be a good time to go. Or go down this weekend, you'll see some azaleas anyway. So when we come in, this is Twig Street down here, and you can come up to this area to park. So we're looking back down toward the entrance. And this is called the Court of States. So this was all built in the 30s. So there's 48 flag staffs there where they can fly the flags for 48 states. I've never seen them flown, but anyway. The obelisk down at the beginning is a monument to FDR in appreciation for his efforts in building Ravine Garden State Park. There's a fee to get in, $4 if you're in the car by yourself, $5 if you're got other people in the car, or you can park out here outside the gate and then walk in. And so it's just $2 for pedestrian. So this is the inside parking lot. There's more parking around to the left. This is the administration building. You can go in there on the first floor. The restrooms are right there. If you're looking for a map, there's a bunch of empty pockets there where maps are supposed to be, so there aren't any. So Google Ravine Gardens State Park before you go. You can download a map and use it. So this is the entrance. I'm sorry. This is the entrance. There's a rock garden, and we'll go through that and the fountain. You can look on the map here on the right to see where we are. We're just starting out from the parking lot. So we'll go through the fountain, down a couple layers to get down to the ravine level. And we'll come to this sign. To the right is the spring trail. We know that one's closed. And to the left is the azalea trail, and that's what we want to take. So we come to the first suspension bridge. There's two suspension bridges across the ravine. And so we come to the first one. Walk across that. These are all original bridges. Of course, the limestone columns are original. The bridges have been rebuilt and maintained a number of times. But they're fun to go across. I hope you're not queasy about suspension bridges. It's pretty, it doesn't shake much, so it's pretty good. Here's a couple views down into the ravine from the suspension bridge. You can see Whitewater Branch here. We get to the end of the bridge, we'll turn left to start taking the azalea trail down around this way. See the old stone steps from the 30s. There's a lot of ups and downs in here. Here's some azaleas that are just budding and ready to bloom. So we know they're about ready. Quite a few in there in that condition. So they should be popping out pretty soon. They might have popped out by now. When we come to any of these stone steps that go up the ravine, those connect to the paved road. So a couple of places along the paved road, like I said, you can get off and walk down. But this isn't an easy walk for somebody that's not very mobile. So you want to be careful about that. We'll stay to the left, take the trail on down. More ups and downs and unders. This tree came down in Hurricane Matthew, I think, and they just left it because it was kind of cool. Now we're at the second suspension bridge. We ran into a ranger there with a maintenance guy, I guess, looking at the bridge. Now at this point, you haven't gone very far, maybe half a mile, but you can cross this bridge and go back if that's what you want to do. So you can cross the bridge right here, go down, pick up the azalea trail and go back. But we'll continue on and do the rest of it. So we continue on the azalea trail. Now we're at the end of the loop and run into the corkscrew tree. And I'm not sure what causes this. I know there's a tree called a corkscrew willow where the branches rotate around to try to get to the sun or try to position themselves so they don't get blown over. But I don't know, since this tree's dead, I don't know what kind of tree it was. But that's some fascinating corkscrew formation there on that tree. Also here at the end of the loop, up on the ravine just a little bit, are a bunch of orange trees. I don't know whether there was a orange planted down here or what, but the oranges are terrible. They've gone pretty sour and stuff. They're not maintained. So don't try to pick them and eat them. Now we're heading back along the other side of the ravine. So it's sloping down. The ravine is down to our left, the high side down to our right. Again, lots of exposed roots on this section, pretty narrow. I think if you're going to come down here and hike this trail, you should bring a trekking pole, hiking stick. Really helps you up and down. It helps you on the balance. Some of the areas, especially along this portion of the azalea trail, are pretty steep. And so it's nice to have that pole on the downside to help balance yourself. So we're back to that bridge where we saw the guys before, and the azalea trail goes down into a beautiful area that I'll show you here in a minute. So this heads down, another trail goes off this way and kind of ends. So you go down into the ravine itself at this point. This is a beautiful pond area, nestled down between the two sides of the ravine. The ponds were formed when they built a waterworks in this location. So they did some damming, and so the ponds have formed down there and it really made it pretty. But it's a beautiful, you see, you would come down off the trail right here, and there's some beautiful places to sit here. And I'll show you a couple of views here next. So this is a view at to the bridge you went over, and you can't get much prettier than that. So you got the slopes on each side, and in the summertime, of course, all the trees are filled in. This time of year, you'll see some azaleas. So this is a beautiful spot to stop and rest. If you're with somebody that can't really walk, you can park right down here when you take the paved road around. So you could park here and just walk a few steps and be able to see this view. So you can sit here a while, and then we'll move on right down this way. The paved road goes on up this way, and this is where the azalea trail / the ravine bottom road is. So if you're going to stay on the azalea trail, you go down here, or if you're going to stay on the ravine bottom trail like we're going to do, you go down here. And there's a sign right here to tell you where it is. And down here just a little ways, there's a turnoff for the azalea trail. So you'd go down just a little ways and then you turn off if you want to take the azalea trail the rest of the way. My feeling has always been, after doing this much of it, you've seen enough of the ravine banks. This kind of steers away from the ravine itself. You're kind of tired of ups and downs, and this is really a pretty walk down through the bottom of the ravine. So like I said, we'll just stay on this little dirt road, wind around the corner. We cross over Whitewater Branch, so then it's on our right. We cross over a couple of times as we go down through here. This is not a long walk through here. Yeah, not, I don't know if you've seen a quarter of a mile, maybe about a quarter of a mile. And we even have a little waterfall. Hope you can hear that. In Florida, unlike Idaho Falls, in Florida, when we see any kind of waterfall, we get excited. Now, I know this isn't quite Idaho Falls, but that's the best we can do. Then we come down to where we're going to walk under the suspension bridge that we initially crossed. So initially we came down from the gardens, crossed the bridge, turned left. So now we're going to walk on the road underneath that, underneath the suspension bridge. And you see some stairs here. You can always use these stairs to go back up and then out this way. But we'll keep on going down to the Springs area. Pretty walk through the Springs area. Now the springs are in this area. There's only a few springs that are really visible, but a lot of the springs are back in here and covered with growth, so you can't really see them. So between all the springs that are located in this area, plus the seepage down the slopes, that's what causes Whitewater Branch Creek, and that's what formed the ravine in the first place. So there's a couple of little bubbly spots here. Nice clear water. A little smell of sulfur here, but not as bad as some springs I've been to. So it's kind of neat to walk down here and take a look at what caused all this in the first place. Now we're going to head back down the road. If you want to take the spring trail, this yellow trail, back up to the bridge, you can do that. There's steps right there. You go up there and turn left, and that trail goes all the way through to where the suspension bridge is. But we're going to stay on the road this time. And if you change your mind and still want to take the spring trail a little further along, there's another crossing. I don't know where that's at, down around this area somewhere, where you can go up and go left and get on the Springs Trail again. Now we're back down to the suspension bridge. You see it. You can walk down to the stairs, you can walk up the stairs and out, or you can also take a gentle slope up here to the left. Either way, you'll wind up back where we started. So we're back up to the steps. We go back up. Back through the gardens. and back to the parking lot. So let's take a look at what we did. Parked here, walked down, took the azalea trail across the suspension bridge, down along the loop here, back. That brought us down to that beautiful pond area. We stopped there, did some contemplation, did some thinking, looked at the beauty. Then we moved on up along the dirt road and took the ravine bottom dirt road underneath the other suspension bridge all the way to the springs area. And then we turned around and came back. Now, Hurricane Matthew caused erosion here so bad that this paved road here was closed for, I don't know how long, a year or more. And this trail is still closed due to the erosion. I don't know if they're going to be able to repair it or not. But that's the kind of thing that these ravines face with the continuing erosion problem. Now I want to talk a little bit about the paved loop. Now, I've been leading groups on this hike for 5 or 6 years. I never bothered with the road. Number one, sometimes it was closed for repair. Other times I figured, well, I'm hiking it, so why drive it? But when I went down this time, I drove it. So I came out of the parking lot. Like I say, it's one way. And it's a real pretty slow drive. Lots of places to stop and park. There are a couple overlooks where you can just overlook into the ravines, although you can't see much because the foliage and trees aren't really cut down enough to be able to see. And we saw some of those steps where you go down also and see it. So for somebody, like I say, that can't walk it, I think this would be a nice alternative. There's an amphitheater here. I think they hold concerts there. There's a restroom along the way, playground along the way with a road down to the with a trail down to the trail, and different stops along the way. So this is only about 1.8 miles. You drive right down here to that beautiful pond area. So again, if you had somebody that can't walk very well, you can drive around, stop here at that beautiful pond area and enjoy that, and then drive back out and you come out to the other part of the parking lot. So don't discount that road when you go down there. When you finish hiking, take a look at it, or if you're taking somebody that can't really walk it, why drive the loop. This is really a beautiful place. I think you got a little flavor for it with the azaleas. It's one of the few places here on the east side of Florida where you can hike some ups and downs, not heavy ups and downs, not the Appalachian Trail, but you do get some ups and downs and feel like you've got some exercise. As you see, there's a lot of variety. There's woods, there's steep slopes, there's that beautiful pond area. There's the corkscrew tree. So there's a lot to see. It's a very unique geology. We don't see many places here in Florida. There are some other steep and slope ravines up near Middleburg let's see, what is it? Ravines State Park, I think. The springs are neat, and of course, there's a history that goes with it and how this was built during the Depression and all the work that went into that. And you think about all the unemployed folks that made money and were able to send it home to their families while they built this. So there's a lot to be said for going down to Ravine Gardens State Park. I think, like I said, I think, let's see, I'm recording this, so people are going to see it at different times, but I think this is the 18th of February. I think probably the latter part of February would be a good time, at least this year, maybe next weekend. So latter part of February is probably a time where you might see more azaleas blooming than perhaps we did on this trip. So that's the end. I hope you get a chance to get down there. That's that beautiful suspension bridge that we started out on a while back. So I hope you all are going to be able to get out there.